Before I started in the study of the New Testament, I was actually in classics. And as an undergrad, one of my favorite first concepts, or one of the first concepts that I ran into that made me realize I wanted to study the ancient Mediterranean world, was that of the wandering womb. This was quite literally an idea within Greek and Roman medicine that many disease processes in the bodies of women had to do with the fact that their uterus wandered around their bodies. And I just found this so bizarre. Of course, reading ancient philosophers and ancient medical writers, I'm thinking here about Aristotle, Plato, Galen, and there are many others. When they would talk about this, or they would make claims like a woman has fewer sutures in her skull, or that she has fewer teeth than a man, I just couldn't imagine how they came up with these things. I mean, didn't Aristotle talk to Mrs. Aristotle, or at least, count her teeth before committing these kind of claims to papyrus? And I began to realize that there was probably a mix of what was going on here. On one hand, there was probably a little bit of testimony behind some of these claims. I mean, as someone who has given birth to a human child, you do start to feel like you have constricted breathing. So something like asthma being attributed to a wandering womb, I mean, physiologically doesn't make sense to us today, but I can understand a certain cause and effect. But there was also in Roman medicine itself, or medicinal approaches to ideas like the wandering womb, some really bizarre solutions. One of my favorite for the wandering womb in particular was this idea that since the womb is like an animal, an unreasoned animal inside another animal, like any animal, like, I don't know, like a puppy, it would be attracted to like a pungent odor that it found interesting. So we do actually have claims that you could put something sweet smelling or something like, I don't know, a steak between a woman's legs, and maybe the uterus would go back into place. And of course, pregnancy was another one of these solutions. There are also other medicinal theories around women's bodies that are, I mean, outrageous, but compelling, including around contraception. So, for example, we have many accounts in antiquity of the idea that you need crocodile dung for contraception. I mean, who's getting the crocodile dung? Is this figurative? Is this literal? These were all questions that, again, I just couldn't leave alone and found incredibly interesting in my studies. This is a subject that I'm going to bring to the BSA, the Biblical Studies Academy, for my monthly chat this month. So for August, my next talk is Friday, August 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I want to relate some of these strange ancient theories about Roman medicine to what we find in the New Testament. So, as you are probably aware, there are a number of miraculous healings that take place in the Gospels and Acts of the Apostles. Paul also references something he calls pneumatic demonstrations, which themselves might have been certain kinds of healings, but they're all over the New Testament. And one thing I want to look at in my talk is this intersection between theories of Roman medicine and what actually takes place in particularly the Gospels, because one thing you'll notice, whether it's the hemorrhaging woman, say in Mark 5, the man with the withered hand, of course, something like raising Lazarus, or the healing of the lepers, these are all ailments that when we look at medical treatises from antiquity, there's not really a fabulous cure. There's not really something that's reliable. In fact, Roman medicine, when you look at the number of recommendations for finding a green lizard in a full moon to cure something like gout or liver problems or eye issues, I mean, you realize they were really grasping at straws, and you have to wonder, were people just walking around and negotiating space in antiquity with like lizards on their forehead? I want to talk about that too. But it's interesting that the New Testament definitely picks illnesses that would have really brought somebody to despair and to a condition where they might have felt like they had no other option or might never have been healed. And so I want to look at the texts themselves and how that is borne out within, especially, again, the Gospels. And the other thing we're going to look at is how some medical terms that you find in the Gospels are actually maybe not what you expect when you look at the Greek. I just recently did a video about whether or not there were werewolves in the New Testament. It was kind of tongue in cheek, but there is actually a term that gets translated as epilepsy in the New Testament that is basically the root of our word for lunacy, but it has to do with the moon. So you have all kinds of cosmic imagery going on here too that we're going to talk about. So again, if you're interested in my upcoming talk on Roman medicine, you can go to bartehrman.com/BSA learning to sign up for a 14-day free trial. We still have a couple of slots open for my talk again Friday, this coming Friday, August 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. But of course, that recording, as well as many others, are available over at the BSA. So I hope you will take a look. I hope to see you there. And I'm going to go work on that presentation right now. I'll talk for about, the presentation itself will be about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll talk for an hour, including Q&A, about any issues that anybody wants to raise about my presentation or questions they have about the text. So again, hope to see you there this coming Friday, August 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern.